The restaurant smelled of aged leather, melting butter, and quiet money. Low amber light spilled across white tablecloths so stiff they could have stood up on their own. I sat in the far corner booth, back against the walnut paneling, facing the entrance. Old habit, never quite shaken even after 12 years of fluorescent-lit cubicles and server rooms that hummed like dying insects. My phone had been powered off since the plane touched down at Dulles. No buzzing. No cascade of "where are you" messages. Just blessed, unfamiliar silence. Across from me sat Elena Vasquez. She wore a charcoal silk blouse, sleeves rolled once, exposing the thin silver scar on her left forearm from the night we'd pulled an all-nighter rerouting a crashed distribution system in 14. No necklace, no earrings, only that platinum band she still wore on her right ring finger even though the marriage it commemorated had ended 6 years ago. Her dark hair was caught in a loose knot, a few strands had escaped and lay against her neck like they'd been placed there on purpose. "You're late," she said, eyes still on the leather-bound menu. "Security line at the airport." Then the car service refused to double park in the alley. I walked the last 4 blocks. "You could have told them who you were dining with." "I don't announce myself." A ghost of a smile touched her mouth. "Still the invisible man, Marcus. Old habits die hard." The waiter appeared 23 maybe, tie slightly crooked, reciting specials with the careful enunciation of someone terrified of mispronouncing foie. Elena ordered without glancing up, 2 pours of the 2015 Chateau Margaux, the 7-course tasting menu. "No wagyu for me." She remembered the allergy. Of course she did. He retreated. She closed the menu with a soft snap. "Tell me again why you waited 12 years. I shrugged, staring at the empty bread plate. The company needed stability. The company needed someone who wouldn't say no. There's a difference. My hands rested on the tablecloth. They were still rough from the warehouse days, loading pallets at 4 a.m., inventory counts that stretched until the sun came up, nights spent sleeping on the breakroom couch so I could catch discrepancies before the morning shift arrived. Those same hands had signed off on every major client expansion since 2018. They'd also typed resignation drafts I never sent. "I liked being necessary," I said quietly. "You liked being taken for granted." The wine arrived. Deep garnet in the glass, legs trailing slow and deliberate down the bowl. Elena lifted hers first, watched the light fracture through it. "He fired you over email," she said. "CC'd the entire C-suite. Said I'd abandoned critical duties during peak quarter. Cited the handbook unapproved leave exceeding 72 hours. You submitted the PTO request 6 months ago. In person. In his office. 2 witnesses. Verbal approval. No email trail." She exhaled through her nose, the same sound she used to make when a server would blue screen for the 3rd time in an hour. "He assumed you'd panic and beg to come back after a week of silence." "I almost did. Twice. Once at 2 a.m. hotel Wi-Fi, finger hovering over reply. But you didn't." "No." "Why?" I met her eyes, really met them. For the first time since I'd slid into the booth. Because I finally understood the place wasn't going to collapse without me. And if it did, maybe it should. Something flickered across her face. Not anger. Not pity. Something sharper, older, like pride mixed with grief. "You built that company," she said. "I helped. A lot of people helped. You were the spine. Everyone else was cartilage at best." I gave a short, humorless laugh. "That's poetic. That's accurate. First course. Tiny roasted beets, whipped goat cheese, nasturtium petals arranged like stained glass." I stared at the plate as though it might confess something. Elena waited until the waiter disappeared again. "He's in free fall now. 3 of your anchor clients have already emailed asking where you are. The Q3 forecast flipped red in supply chain and customer success divisions you single-handedly stabilized last spring. Board called an emergency session for 9 a.m. tomorrow." I nodded slowly. "Good. Good. They'll adapt. Or they won't. Either way, it isn't my emergency anymore. She studied me the way she used to study failing code, patient, merciless, searching for the one line that would unravel everything. You're really finished? I think so. You don't sound convinced. I'm convinced I don't want the old version of the job back. The second course arrived, scallops seared to a perfect caramel crust, black garlic puree, a single nasturtium leaf like a signature. I nudged mine. Elena left hers untouched. I bought the company, she said. My fork stopped mid-air. She continued in that same calm tone she used when negotiating seven-figure contracts. Closed Friday evening. Wire transfer after market close. The old board was motivated. Especially after I shared the forensic audit your deputy compiled last year, the one you told him to bury. My throat tightened. You weren't supposed to see that. I have channels. You bought a company that's been running on fumes and good intentions? I bought a company with one of the most loyal operational cores in the industry because one man spent 12 years making sure nothing ever failed catastrophically. I bought infrastructure. I bought potential. I bought you. I stared at her. I'm retired. You're 38. Exhausted. Salvageable. I shook my head. Elena, I don't want to be anyone's midnight firefighter anymore. I'm not asking you to put out fires. She leaned forward an inch. I'm asking you to run the place. The words hit like cold water down my spine. CEO? I managed. Executive chairman and interim CEO until we identify a permanent successor. Or until you decide you want to stay. I laughed, short, startled, almost painful. You've lost your mind. I've done the math. You hated me. I hated the version of you that let people use loyalty as a leash. That version is dead. I can see it sitting across from me right now. I looked away. The rain had started outside, individual drops raced each other down the tall windows. She kept going, quieter. 12 years ago I told you to walk away before that place hollowed you out. You wouldn't leave. So I did. I built something else. Watched from afar. Watched you carry the weight until your knees buckled. I waited. I waited a very long time. Why now? Because you finally put the weight down. Silence settled between us, thick and electric. I pictured the email again, the cold formality of it. Abandoned post. Unprofessional. Termination immediate. I pictured the 16-hour stretches, the cancelled Christmases, the thank yous that never arrived, the bonus perpetually under review, the way Richard would grin every time he reminded the team that everyone was replaceable. I looked back at her. You kept tabs. Every quarterly deck. Every renewal you personally rescued. Every all-nighter you pulled and still walked in at 7 a.m. looking like you'd slept 8 hours. Yes. That's borderline obsessive. It's called contingency planning. I almost smiled. You always did like control. I like outcomes. The main course landed, her filet, mine roasted heirloom carrots, truffle risotto, a drizzle of aged balsamic that looked like ink. Neither of us touched it. What happens to him? I asked. Richard? Generous severance. Contingent on NDA, non-disparagement, and immediate resignation. If he refuses, the board sees the full forensic. Every backdated bonus he approved for himself and the 2 VPs while telling everyone else the budget was frozen. I exhaled slowly. You planned this. I prepared. Big difference. You waited for me to snap. I waited for you to wake up. I picked up my fork, took one bite of the risotto. Earthy. Luxurious. Everything I denied myself for years. I set it down. 3 conditions. She tilted her head. Name them. No golden parachutes for Richard or the other two. Claw back every unauthorized dollar. Public statement terminated for cause. Already drafted. Second, I get final approval on the first round of promotions, demotions, restructures. No favoritism. Numbers and results only. Agreed. Third, I paused, heart suddenly loud in my ears. You take a board seat. Not chair. Just there. So when I look across the table during the hard calls, I remember why I came back. She held my gaze for a long beat. Then that rare, real smile, the one that used to appear at 5 a.m. when we finally fixed whatever had broken overnight. Done. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Elena raised her glass. To second chances. I lifted mine. To settling old scores. We touched rims. The crystal rang like a promise. Outside, rain drummed harder against the glass. Inside, the restaurant carried on clinking silver, soft laughter, oblivious.